Yeah, to wrap this up, what are your top three life hacks that viewers of the show can kind of put into practice right now for being more effective in their job and business, or in their health, life in general, relationships, whatever it is, spirituality? What are your top three life hacks to just make people's lives better that they can start doing today?
Got it. Well, I'll set brain juice aside. Obviously, brain juice is one of my
Yeah.
top ones, but I'll do the three in addition to brain juice. So number one for me is meditation. It's like I do a specific type of meditation. You can call it meditation, whatever. It doesn't have to be called meditation. But remember how we talked about obstacles and kind of this idea of the obstacle is the way. Well,
Yeah.
about 4 years ago, it was actually the beginning of Brain Juice. You know, we had some trouble. Our first iteration was okay, but it wasn't that great. We weren't in any stores yet, and we needed investment. And there were a lot of times where our bank account was very low, and it was, it was scary. We're like, well, how are we going to pay the bills next month? And it just was a tough time emotionally for me, and probably for everybody involved. And I think that's pretty common in most startups. And I realized at that time that I had all these bottled up emotions deep down inside of like fear of failure, all kinds of stuff. And, fear of running out of money. What will people think? What will happen to me? Blah, blah, blah. That's just part of it. There's really the full gamut of emotions that I went through. Of course, you have the excitement when you create a great product, when you get a good review, and when you make a sale, all that. But there's also the negative. And I realized that over time, I would just have those. I would just bottle those up. I wasn't that good at letting them out. And what I learned was that the process of processing emotions and letting them out is one of the most important things, at least for me, that I can possibly do. So I kind of developed this type of meditation where I'll just sit and I'll go inside the emotion. So I sit and I kind of do a little body scan real quick. So I'll kind of feel into my feet, feel into my legs, my kind of pelvis area, my stomach, my chest, my back, my head, and I can always feel nowadays. I'm very tuned into it. I can feel if there's any form of resistance in there, or if I'm holding on to any emotions or any anxieties, because my body has gotten to the point where it feels pretty good most of the time, and it feels pretty clear, and I just feel good. And if there's emotion stuck inside me, I can feel it, because it's almost like a splinter. It feels like a splinter. It's like your foot feels good until you have a splinter in it, and then you're pretty clear that there's something wrong with your foot, right? You take a step and there's a freaking splinter there. And that's how people are with emotions, is we have all these like emotional splinters that we store inside of us, and you talk about people with bad tempers, for example. Those are people that just have a lot of anger in them. It's not that there's anything wrong with them, except that they have all this bottled up anger. And when they get pressed by the world, much like when your foot gets pressed, when you take a step, when you have a splinter in it, the anger comes out. And so what I started doing was just feeling into all these emotions, and instead of running away from them and focusing outside, I focus inside and I go into them. And there's a few different tools and techniques you can use when you're in that space. One of them is tapping. You probably heard of EFT tapping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tapping, there's all the meridian points. I do tapping sometimes, because sometimes it's nice just to have a kinesthetic boost that helps kind of process through those emotions and let them go. I also do what's called the core process, or the core technique, which is where you kind of do a body scan and you identify where the emotional blockage is, what chakra it's in, or what meridian or whatever, and then literally just go into the emotion. I kind of imagine it as like a little ball of emotion, or almost like a little splinter in there that's like reverberating energy outside. It's kind of like just sending out pain energy. And I go into it and I just sit there, and I try to be mindful, fully mindful and present. And I always think of it as mindfulness and equanimity. I got this from this guy who wrote this book called The Science of Enlightenment. His name is Shinzen Young. And he talks about mindfulness and equanimity. And it's basically being fully present with whatever's going on, with the emotion or whatever's going on inside you. And when you do that, when you get into that state, it actually releases the emotion. And it's like there's three ways to get an emotion there's three ways to, three things you can do with an emotion. Number one, you can express it. So you can, if you have anger, you can express it to somebody else, or you can hit something, right? Two, you can suppress it, which is where you bottle it up. And 3, you can just feel it and just go into it, like what I'm talking about, and let it go. And you're not suppressing it and you're not expressing it in a negative way. You're just letting it go. So that's really what I'm talking about here. And tapping and using the core process and going inside of it are so powerful. There's also another process called MAP, which was developed by one of my mentors, Colette Stryker. And it's very similar to the core process, where you just feel it and you actually communicate with your higher self, or what she calls your superconscious. And your superconscious, kind of, which is like the higher version of you, goes in and helps you let it go. So that's number 1. And to me, it's very important, and once you start doing that and you kind of clear out your emotional space, it starts to become really clear that so many other people are walking around with tons of emotional baggage. We all are. We start accumulating it from birth, maybe even before then, but we accumulate all this emotional baggage, and those emotional blockages are really what hold us back in life. Most people have the knowledge necessary to succeed, but it's like they have these emotional blockages or even belief blockages that keep them from succeeding. So anyway, that's number 1. Number 2 is I do a lot of earthing and sunbathing, whatever you call it, connecting to the earth, connecting to the elements. You can also add in jumping in water. I love going to the Greenbelt or in Barton Springs. Is itself an emotional cleanse, and it's energizing. It's just a good reset. So I love doing that. I think it's really important to be connected with the planet, with nature. I think it helps people connect people spiritually to God or to whatever they want to call spirit, and it's just a really good thing. It also heals the body. There's so much scientific evidence that talks about the benefit of just putting your bare feet or your bare skin on the earth. It lowers inflammation. It lowers pain. It just boosts you in every way. So that's number 2. Let's see, number 3. There's so many things I do.
Yeah, the earthing helps with cortisol. I mean, even which is your stress hormones, helps normalize your sleep schedules. Yeah, you're right. There's some people are calling it nature deficit disorder.
Yeah, so true.
Out of nature. Great books about that as well.
Yeah, I actually sleep on an earthing sheet, and I have an earthing pad right now that my feet are on as we do this interview.
With Orgonite. Nice, I saw that.
Yeah, with the Orgonite. The other thing too about earthing is that we have EMFs. You probably are familiar with EMFs, right? Electromagnetic frequencies. Everybody these days is walking around with a little computer in their pocket, which is sending and receiving tons of information in the form of waves and frequencies, and those are stressors on our body in high dosages. So earthing is a really good way to ground out those EMFs. And right now, I have my feet on the earthing pad, and so the computer isn't really affecting me that much. It's just going right through me. So, that kind of goes into number 2. Number 3, I'd say the number 3 biggest hack is the people you surround yourself with. You know this one just as well as I do.
Yeah.
It's so important to hang out with what I call high vibe people who are positive minded, good people. They have goals, ambitions, and they have good habits instead of bad habits, because their habits are going to rub off on us. And, if there's any success hack, really all 3 of them are really important, but that third one of hanging out with people, it's so important. Yeah. You become the average of the top 5 people you hang out with. They also say your salary becomes the average of the top 5 people you hang out with. And you learn from them. So those are my 3 right there.
Yeah, I love that one. I do like the 33 rule, as Tai Lopez calls it, where 30% of your time you're sharing your expertise with people who kind of need their little boost. 33% of the time is with people that you are your peers, people you're kind of going through the same things with. And 33% you're being mentored by people who are way ahead of you, either financially or spiritually or in health, whatever kind of aspiring to. I love that. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
With high vibe, positive attitude. That's it. It doesn't matter. To me, there are some people who will eat super healthy or do yoga and stuff like that and meditation, but then they just have this it's hard to meditate all the time and do yoga and have a negative attitude. But more importantly than attitude, if it's always oh, I love organic food. Oh yeah, but you know, big agriculture sucks and blah blah blah, and they're all just trying to poison us and kill us and blah 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 blah, and like all this stuff. Like I understand that that stuff happens, it goes on, you know, but I love like Seth Blaustein and Max Borders, their Voice and Exit, where they're like criticize, create something better, and that's how you critique the system instead of just always, you know, whining and complaining.
Yeah, Buckminster Fuller. You've heard his quote, right? Don't spend your time tearing down the current system. Instead, spend your time building a new model that makes the current model obsolete.
Yes.
Which I know he's very influential to Seth and Max as well. Seth actually gave me this little lapis right here. Love that guy.
Yes.
Actually, I met you with Seth, didn't I? When I came to your house. Remember that?
That was the second time we met. We met very, very briefly at the debut of 3.0. Brain Juice, and it was very briefly.
That's right.
Like it was, I was going in the door, and I was there to meet somebody else who also lived at that place. And so I was like, "Oh, Sam, hey, great to meet you. You also live here? Okay, cool." And then we like went past each other, and I drank the drink, and I loved it. And I went in another room and had a long conversation with. Realized like 3 hours had passed where I was talking about like cancer and essential oils and health and detoxification and all this stuff, and I just didn't have to think about anything. And I was like, wow. And I think on the way out, I was like, this is awesome, man. Keep doing this.
Yeah.
And so that was really the extent of our meeting, where we really got to talk.
I remember that now. Yeah.
Here in front of this bookshelf. But yeah, that was when we really did that. Well, yeah, thank you so much for being on the air with me and on this interview. I'm sure it won't be the last time, because I know you have so many other awesome things to offer and share, but I really wanted to talk about Brain Juice just because I know it's your brainchild, and I love it. The world deserves to know about it. I highly, highly recommend you get these products on Amazon or at Whole Foods and HEB Central Market if you just want to try it. You can just buy one. I recommend getting a case. Try it for a month. See how your brain feels after a month. And yeah, with that, we'll sign off. Thanks again, Sam. I appreciate so much all that you've shared with us. Great life hacks.
My pleasure, Zach. Thank you. And I'd love to be back on another time.